Hey guys, let's get more news about Steelers, but first, don't forget to subscribe and leave your like. Get out of bounds. Ben Roethlisberger believes Russell Wilson should have prioritized time over yards on final drive scramble. For all the issues they had, the Pittsburgh Steelers had a chance to drive down the field and beat the Cincinnati Bengals last week. Unfortunately, they couldn't get out of their own way. Russell Wilson's play, in particular, was maddening. He didn't have a good game in general, but that final drive was even uglier. One of the most frustrating plays saw Wilson scramble for only a few yards, staying in bounds for some reason and draining over 20 seconds off the clock. Ben Roethlisberger was confused about why Wilson made that decision. This week, late in that game, last drive of the game, Wilson scrambles out to the right, Roethlisberger said Monday on his podcast, Footballin' with Ben Roethlisberger. Russ kind of lowers his shoulder, tries to kind of run a guy over. In that situation, getting out of bounds is the most important thing. Get out of bounds and save the time. No one is gonna look at you and be like, oh, he's soft. He got out of bounds. No, they're gonna be like, that's a good smart play. Roethlisberger is correct. No one would have faulted Wilson for getting out of bounds. Before that play, the Steelers were at their own 42-yard line with 46 seconds remaining. It was first down, and no one was open. Wilson attempted to scramble to pick up some yards, and it looked like he could have scampered to the sideline, but instead, he lowered his shoulder against a defender. That play cost the Steelers 22 precious seconds, and they only picked up 3 yards. It didn't kill their hopes of winning but left them with little hope. They needed that time more than they needed that small amount of yardage. Wilson took a sack on the following play, forcing the Steelers to burn their final timeout. Despite all of that, they still could have won the game. George Pickens got open down the sideline, but Wilson missed him. Overall, that final drive was a pitiful effort. Wilson has demonstrated his commitment to the Steelers on the field before. However, this is the second time he's really hurt them by making the wrong decision while running. In their loss to the Baltimore Ravens, Wilson opted not to slide on a run near the goal line, and he ended up fumbling. That shifted the momentum of that game to a place the Steelers couldn't recover from. Roethlisberger defended Wilson on that play, but it sounds like he's less comfortable with the quarterback's decision this week. A 13-year veteran, Wilson can't make that mistake down the stretch. Obviously, he wasn't the only reason they lost, but Wilson has been a problem over this losing streak. He's cooled off after his hot start to the season. This play is another example of the Steelers' flaws holding them back. Steelers need to emerge from funk to end playoff woes. The classic rock song Renegade by Styx has been a fixture at Acrisure Stadium for 2 decades. The intro is always the same. The video board briefly fades to black, the crowd goes silent and the voice of lead singer Tommy Shaw intones "Oh Mama, I'm in fear for my life" from the long arm of the law. What typically follows is an explosion of sound set to highlights of the Pittsburgh Steelers defense mashing opponents synced up with the track's iconic drum beat. In theory, it's all designed to intimidate. Not so much at the moment. If anything, the song's lyrics, about a criminal who was caught and is about to be executed, are symbolic of a team whose once promising season is running short on time. A month ago, the Steelers had a semi-comfortable lead in the AFC North and an outside chance at securing one of the top 2 seeds in the conference. Now, Pittsburgh, 10-7, heads into a first-round playoff game in Baltimore riding a 4-game skid that has offered little evidence it is ready to end a postseason victory drought that stretches to 2016. The defense is no longer creating turnovers at the rapid rate that helped carry the Steelers to their 10-3 start. The offense that steadily improved through much of the fall has regressed. And the optimism that flourished not so long ago has dimmed considerably. Coach Mike Tomlin is trying to stay upbeat, mostly because he doesn't have a choice. "We're a mentally tough group," Tomlin said. It's okay to learn from these lessons and remember the things that created this. Nothing mystical about it. That's perhaps the most jarring aspect of his team's swoon. Pittsburgh isn't exactly beating itself. Instead, the Steelers are simply being beaten. They haven't led a game at any point since the final snap of a victory over Cleveland on December 8 and have often looked outclassed against the kinds of teams, Philadelphia, Baltimore, Kansas City and Cincinnati, that have been playoff fixtures most of this decade. The Steelers have been a part of that group too. They have, after all, reached the postseason in 4 of the past 5 years. Yet each of their previous 3 trips ended the same way, with a lopsided loss in the opening round. Every move Pittsburgh has made over the past 11 months has been designed to end that streak. Yet instead of taking a step forward, it sure looks as if the Steelers will end up running in place. Pittsburgh is respected, sure, but hardly feared. The evidence could be heard echoing from the Cincinnati locker room late Saturday night when the familiar opening verse of Renegade blared from a portable speaker after the Bengals kept their flickering postseason hopes alive. Maybe it's fitting. Because at the moment, it sure seems as if the jig is up. The news is out. The Steelers are floundering. What's working, whatever Cam Hayward is doing? The 35-year-old defensive tackle earned his 7th Pro Bowl nod last week. It's hardly ceremonial. The longtime captain put together one of the better seasons of his 14-year career to burnish his Hall of Fame resume. He had 8 sacks and also batted down a career-best 11 passes, including 3 on Saturday night. Bears request interview with Arthur Smith for head coach job. Pittsburgh Steelers offensive coordinator Arthur Smith seems to be a sought-after name by teams in need of a head coach. The New York Jets requested permission to interview Smith for their vacancy, and now an NFC team has done the same. The Chicago Bears have requested to interview Smith. On top of that, they also requested to interview Ravens offensive coordinator Todd Monken. Monken would be the better hire in terms of body of work. He's done an excellent job with Baltimore and Lamar Jackson since taking over in 2023. While Smith has been better than what Pittsburgh previously had in Matt Canada, and the offense has had spurts of explosiveness, the run game has been one of the least efficient in the NFL and their passing game has lived and died on go balls down the sideline, and as of late, it's been a lot more dying than living. We'll see if the Steelers end up looking for a new offensive coordinator for the 2nd straight year. And you, fan? What do you think of the situation of Arthur Smith? Leave your opinion in the comments.